Hello,
Yes.
we are here
We are
with
here.
Tammy and Marcelo of ASHTANGA YOGA.
Again.
How are you doing today?
Pretty well.
Yes,
Yes.
it's heavy.
Summertime.
Okay, good to hear. Summertime, very hot and humid. I'd like to ask you a few questions in order for your viewers or potential students to understand a little bit more about yoga, Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, and also what your center provides and how it could benefit them. Tell me, how did you discover yoga?
Well, I discovered yoga when I was in 1991. I can't really calculate. I was 25, I think. Yes, probably. 20 years ago, I was 25. Okay. And, well, I always liked to do things like postures and things like that. And so I was looking for some kind of thing that, some kind of exercise maybe that is not exercise, because I'm not a sports person. I don't like sports. I never liked gym or things like that. And yoga has something inside that I felt like more at home with. So this is
Connected with.
Yeah, more like my thing. Even though you do effort and physical effort and maybe even harder than some other hard sports, but it has another value. I mean, it is about the mind also. It's not. It takes you somewhere very deep inside yourself, and that's why I think I'm attracted to yoga.
So from your very first class of yoga, you felt a connection to the practice.
Yeah, because and it was only once a week, but it was my once a week, my thing. I was after separation. I had someone before you, yes.
Really?
Yeah, I will tell you all about it
Let's
later.
talk about yoga.
And I was studying at the university. I was working as a waitress, and this was my 1 hour and a half in a week. That was like sacred, you know. No matter what happened, I used to come there very tired, because I used to finish it at 2 o'clock at night and start at 8 o'clock in the morning, so it was hectic. But when I didn't do yoga since then, if I didn't do yoga, I always missed that very much, and I always recommended that to other people. So I stick to that basically in the last almost 2 decades. I try to stick. I think that the only time that I really didn't do yoga, it was for 2.5 years or something, all along.
And what about for you, Marcelo? How did you discover yoga?
I married yoga.
So it was a package deal.
It was a package. It comes yoga, wife, teacher, mother, everything in one. It's nice. Good price.
It's a bargain.
Yes. So we met, we got married, but I didn't go into yoga. When we came to Spain, to Sitges, then
And
she
10 years after we met.
10 years?
Yeah.
10 years after we met, I started translating for her the sessions of yoga that she used to give. And since then, I'm doing yoga.
And what has yoga provided for you to continue with your practice?
Good question. I am diabetic since 9 years old. So if I am now very old, and a lot of years I suffer from diabetes. And I discovered that with Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga, I can keep my life and my levels of sugar very balanced. Yes, balanced?
More balanced.
More balanced. And like yoga does, makes this balance for all kinds of things. And for me also for diabetes. So I keep doing it. And I suffered a lot, by the way. I still suffer a lot while I'm doing it, but it's nice.
So you found your balance through the practice.
Yes.
That's great to hear. And Tammy, you started out with yoga, but it wasn't Ashtanga. When did you realize that Ashtanga is the practice for you?
Well, I came upon Ashtanga quite by
By accident?
yeah, more or less, because my teacher, the first one, which was teaching some kind of, I don't know exactly what it was a lot of posture also, but I don't remember if it was about the breath or not, or it wasn't Ashtanga, but it was some kind of sequences of postures that maybe come from Iyengar in some way, and he left for India. He went to India. And then I met Marcelo. It was almost the same time. And it took like, I think, maybe 10 months afterwards that someone came to me with, oh, you know, there is this yoga teacher. And I said, okay, let's go. And then I met Gili. I met my teacher in Jerusalem. That was 93. So this is how I came upon Ashtanga, and since I practiced Ashtanga, I tried some other practices of yoga also. But I always went back. I went back, and that's it. For me, this is my practice.
And can you explain a little bit what is Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga?
Ashtanga Vinyasa Yoga is energetic practice of yoga that has to do with the breath and movement, the connection between the breath and movement. You really want to get to a point where there is synchronicity between the breath and movement in a way that you don't breathe, you don't move without the breath. And it takes you to a very meditative state, because you inhale and you move, and you exhale and you move. The Ujjayi breath, which is special, I don't know if it comes out, it's yes. And we go through a sequence of postures. Ashtanga has six sequences. The primary sequence is what we practice here in Sitges in the time being, and the sequences are sequences of asanas, of postures, yogic postures, that are connected through the breath. And between the postures, there is always a transition also that is made by movement and breath. It creates a lot of heat in the body, and this heat permits the body to eliminate toxins, to open up, to be more flexible on one hand and more efficient on the other hand. And sometimes when it gets so hot, like now in summertime, we get even to melt a bit the mind, which is very important. So for me it's a complete practice. We use special tools that maybe usually they are used apart in other practices, like for pranayama you use maybe the Ujjayi breath, which we use maybe for pranayama also you use your bandhas, which are locks. I won't get into too many details, we have to practice the thing, but bandhas are locks in the center of the body that we want to lift up. We want to lock and lift up basically the energy, and we breathe through the chest. So this motion is all about heating and cleansing and going through all this process that basically yoga is a mind practice. We do it through the body, but it's a mind practice.
And
So, yeah.
Marcelo, I'm going to point this question to you because of your diabetes. In your experience of teaching, what other benefits in terms of health has the practice provided?
Anyone you can say it helps to keep you strong and immune and any type of
Flexible?
huh?
Flexible? And more flexible?
Also all the flexibility as well. But I mean, in I sense sometimes that people come and say, oh, I don't know, I have a pain here or anywhere else or here. So it's not that you can't do anything and don't practice because otherwise it will fall apart or something like that. In those times, it is very important to move, to breathe, to lock the bandhas, and to do it with almost no effort. And this thing keeps you open, relaxed, and also, in a sense, it gives you a certain confidence about everything around, not only about yourself, about the people around, about anything you do. And I think it's a strong means of it's a lot of tools to be used.
So it makes a difference in their daily lives.
I believe so.
It helps.
I believe so.
Yoga should be part of daily life because it's
is,
like you're going into a greenhouse or a lab, yeah? And you do this experiment, okay? And then you can apply the results, you can apply on your daily life because the thing that you go through a sequence of postures, and postures, you know, we have postures in our life also. I mean, we go to the supermarket, it's one posture. We go to arrange something in the bank, it's another posture. We go to the doctor, it's another one. We go to a yoga class, it's another one. We go to the beaches. I mean, we move from one posture to another all the time.
Right.
I mean, even mentally, okay, now I have to be like that because they have to do this and that, no? So, the sequence and the thing that you have to be very concentrated because you have to concentrate your gaze. This is drishti. You have to fix your gaze. You have to be very, very aware of your breathing. You have to be very, very, very not aware of him. No, I'm joking. Yes. You have to put all these components together at the same time, all the time. So it's not a very easy practice. But on the other hand, this thing is like, if I can breathe when I do Marichi 4, which is half lotus with, let's see if I can do it on a stool, it might be a bit complicated, yeah? Half lotus with a twist back. And I can still breathe there. Maybe the next time I go into a very difficult situation, I will find my breath. Because when we don't, and many times we don't, then we get stressed out. And we get worried, and then we might get depressed, and then we know where it leads. It's not a good place to be. So yoga is improving, first of all, it lets you to your breath, and your breath improves your control, a bit of control about your actions, maybe. Action, reaction, no? Reaction, action. I mean, sometimes something happens and we react immediately. Yoga helps you to have a bit of delay, maybe. Because the biggest purpose of this practice is to have as much peace as you can in your life.
So, in other words, yoga really helps us to deal with our life outside the mat.
Outside the mat. If we want, it depends on what you look for. If you want to have a good, nice exercise, it's a good exercise. You will be more flexible, you will be stronger. If you want a spiritual practice, you have a spiritual practice. And if you want it for improving your back condition or improving whatever else condition, or you just recuperated after an injury, or you just going through a bad time or whatever, yoga is there. Yoga is always is a way to deal better with any kind of condition in life. If
So-
you want, again.
So it's very individualized. It can really fit to each person's needs
Yeah.
and what they're looking for,
It should be fitted to each person.
If they want.
if they want, if
But
they're
but
open to it.
basically, it should be. I mean, it's not because it's a difficult practice. It doesn't mean necessarily that if you can't do all the postures like someone is doing, yeah. And we are the opposites. I mean, this is very interesting because I'm very flexible, and Marcelo is not very flexible. Let's say maybe because of also.
Could be the diabetes. Yeah.
So he had to struggle a lot. It was very difficult.
I don't want to cry.
Well, I want to ask you both because there are a lot of people that really don't understand yoga and feel that it's about chanting and meditation,
Also.
and they always feel that they can't do yoga because they can't sit still. What are some of the common myths about yoga that you can clarify to erase these doubts?
I love it when people are coming to me and they say,
I can't.
I'm too nervous.
I'm not flexible.
I'm too nervous. I love when people
Me
are saying
neither.
that. I'm too nervous, or I'm not flexible. I think what happens is that we have this, yoga came a long way in the last 50 years. I mean, I think things have changed. I think it came to the States, maybe to America, and I think the biggest change was the relationship of yoga with America since the 60s. And I think this brought upon practices that maybe weren't so known, or maybe new practices that are not all about immediately sitting down immediately. And I think it's very hard for us coming from this society, the modern society, with its rush. All the time we are on the rush, on the run. Or we are all the time busy bees, no? All the time. Or we work long hours, or we are worried, or internet, or just hearing the news, the economy, everything is so hectic. And if you find someone that it's about to explode because it's so, and you tell him take a deep breath, he will explode. He can't really take in air, you see. So the same goes to a person that will come from the street and I will sit him down now for an hour. You can get mad, you can get crazy. And this is not the purpose. I mean, that's why we need some physical training maybe before. Maybe in order to quiet the mind, maybe to be able, this is what the practice is doing. The practice is bringing you to a place of peace. A place of peace can be 5 minutes of sitting like that and feeling integrated inside yourself and not, what is this strange thing that I'm inside? I don't know this body. And my body betrays me all the time. And I'm a victim of my body, which is not, it's not true. The body is our victim, basically. So yoga is not necessarily about silence immediatly. It's about learning how to be able to sit 10 minutes a day in the long run, in the very long run maybe, 10 minutes a day, maybe 20 later, maybe half an hour, and to be able just to sit quietly with yourself. And to be there, to be there, because it's a stormy weather up here usually.
Never mind. And what about you, Marcelo? What can you add to that? Clarify some myths that you've heard, from people.
His thoughts.
I like usually all those myths are for some reason they are there because it was like that, or people didn't know enough, or whatever. But they say, you're doing yoga. That's the first thing they tell you, and they go. No, that's a common when you meet someone and you say, what you doing? I'm doing yoga, and you go. That's the point. But at the end, for me, not the only, but the most important thing about Ashtanga or yoga in general, I don't know, is that you discover parts of yourself. You discover yourself all the time. It's not that I'm doing yoga, el perro abajo, perro up and looking dog, and I go. It's not that. That's just moving. But if you go with that rhythm of the ujjayi and the bandhas close and everything becomes really like a dance. It's like poetry, in a sense.
Poetry in motion.
Poetry in motion, and you discover yourself again and again and again.
And it's never the same.
And it's never the same, but maybe the center, yes, it's the same, like you were born. The center is you, always.
So maybe, perhaps, people are afraid to get to know the real...
Might be.
Because
also don't forget one more thing, that
I don't know.
there is this also air about religion, and there is this thing about yoga being a caste, no? Some kind of a group, like, secret
like a
group.
cult or...
Yeah. Well, if you find the person that does it this way, well, you can have a decision. You can either stay and carry on with him or not. But this is not what we speak about. We speak about a practice that is helping people in so many ways,
All
to
ages.
reduce cholesterol, to reduce blood sugar levels, to reduce fat,
To move your blood around.
to reduce stress.
Circular.
When you have a heart condition, it's good to breathe
Also.
deep, to move the blood, to heat up the body a bit, After you had cancer, for example, and you're going through, after you recover, through your recovery, in the United States, you have a lot of places, a lot of hospitals and clinics that are using yoga to heal. So I think it's always this thing about the new, the thing that you don't know. What do? We first of all we put resistance. No, we say no, my mother, my sister, my daughter. I love it when the mothers are coming to sign up the kids. And they say, I would love my kid to do some yoga. He's so nervous. And I look and I say, yeah, and what about you? It's like, it's there for everybody. And although you might have a very difficult body, it doesn't necessarily have to do, you can do yoga even while you can breathe, you can do something about it, You can feel a bit better about yourself. I think when we move, we feel good. I think when we don't move, we get stuck. When we get stuck, everything gets stuck. Life is getting stuck. Moving is the rhythm of life. It's always on the move, always moving, always changing. Nothing is forever.
Right.
Why not move with it, Be part of it, dance with it, love it.
So for someone who is a beginner, what's the most crucial thing that you can suggest to make it into a positive habit?
Patience. That's also for not only the beginner, for everyone.
For everyone.
And persistence. You have to really practice. You can't really have it other way. Lucky enough, you only have to practice,
There's
You
nothing
don't
much
have
to read. There's
to-
nothing much to read.
You don't have to invest too much money. You don't have to go someplace very special. You don't have to move from your country. You don't have to change your lifestyle. You don't have to change your work. You just have to practice. It's very simple. People sometimes think that they have to quit everything in order to do some yoga, or they say they don't have time. I started practicing every day. I had 2 little babies practically at home, and another baby that says, "You with your yoga."
Very
all the time.
flexible baby.
Yeah, at that time, yeah, pretty. And I was working like 8 or 10 hours sometimes out of the house, and I always somehow managed to find my way around it, even it was even just 20 minutes a day. Not necessarily a whole 3-hour session, you know, lucky enough if I get there, you know, but it could be just 15 minutes. And it was something I realized that gives me the strength to carry on, because when you have little kids, it's a very tough moment. It's not easy. And then, also, I came to yoga, which I didn't say before. I think I realized pretty soon that yoga has this power, or if I stick to that enough, it will arrange somehow my life, because I come from, well, my family, my parents got divorced when I was 16 years old, and my life was really hard during all my teenage time and a bit later also. And I think I realized that this recycling that you do to the mind and to your body through the practice of yoga will make me, okay, come what may, you know, really, come what may. And I still, come what may, whatever will come, it will be okay, you know, if it will be hard, it will be happy, easy, sad, I'll be okay. And I think I proved that to myself because my mother died a couple of years ago and she was very sick. It was a very hard time for me, but it's like it gives you like a backbone, a very strong backbone to lean on, because you really need to look inside in order to really find out this strength. Nothing comes from the inside. For much that you will be looking around, the answers come from the inside, not from the outside. If you're really looking for an answer. And yoga gives you this technique to be there, to go back to this place all the time, to be connected to this place inside you.
So after this time and years of practicing, I think you said you started practicing about 2 years before you decided that you wanted to deepen your practice.
I don't know if it was 2 years, it was a bit more maybe. In 98, I came back to Ashtanga. At the end of 94, I left Ashtanga because I practiced until I was almost until labor, a month before, with my first child. And then
my second child, you came back?
With my second, after the birth of my second child, I came back to Ashtanga. And I think it took me a year or so to decide to start, maybe less even, to start to practice again every day. Again, I never did that, sorry. To start to practice every day. And a few months later, I signed up for a teacher training because I had it very clear in my mind that this is what I want to do. After I did many other things that, you know, career and stuff like that, which doesn't go very well with me. And that's it. I mean, I made this commitment to myself.
So at that point, you made a decision that you wanted, because of the benefits you've received through the practice, that you wanted to teach.
Yeah, I think even before. I think you remember that we went to Lanzarote and we were speaking about having an academy. This happened 18 years ago. Almost 19 years ago.
Academy.
We said we want Marcelo comes from theater, which we didn't say before.
Yes.
And we had this, we were just a few months together and we thought about having an academy for theater and yoga. I didn't know anything about yoga basically then, but somehow I think it was there. It was there all the time. And first I came to Gili and I said, my teacher, and I said to him, how can I go deep? I want to go deep. He said, okay, practice every day. And I started practicing every day. It took me like a few days, like, what does he say? I did university, what does he say? Well, no bill, no books, no reviews, no nothing. And then I reminded that to him a few months ago, and he said, oh, I could give you a whole list of books. So I said to him, yeah, but this is not the point. The point is that you got me to practice every day. And I think it was a process of going deeper, and then I asked him to, how can I go even deeper? And he said, okay, we open teacher training, so if you want. And I did.
So as teachers to this practice, what is your mission? How would you like to move forward, and what's your goal?
To have as many people exposed to this practice, because I think it's a great practice and it can be modified
For your own needs.
yeah, according to your needs. Because even though I'm very flexible, when I get injured, and I got injured in my life, or I get sick, or I get whatever, my body doesn't necessarily can do all the things that I could before, or maybe I can do something better now and maybe less, you know, things are changing, it's like that, it's life. So it's always, you learn the practice, to begin with it's very hard because you don't know what you're doing basically, it takes time to learn, like any other thing. But with time you learn how to adapt it to your needs, according to the energy that appears at the moment that you are practicing, which each day and maybe during the practice it changes also. So you have to be very aware and very patient. And we tend to want to eat the world now, all together, everything, all of it, now. And if we don't get there now, shortcut, Facebook, you know, upload now. If we don't get it now, then we get frustrated.
Patience.
Instead, and yoga, when you rush with yoga pushes you back. When you are patient, your process might be a bit faster because you are patient and you really go step by step. So I think anyway, it's a very important lesson.
And can you describe or share an experience or tell us what do you think is the most challenging aspect as an Ashtanga teacher?
The most challenging
Aspect of an Ashtanga teacher.
As a teacher to this practice, what have you encountered or experienced that has been challenging? Marcelo.
I think that the most important thing is for the practitioner and for the teacher and for everyone that when you, never mind if you're doing the practice or outside or after the practice or before the practice, you be yourself. You'll be yourself, whatever it's you deal with. That's for me.
Be honest.
Be yourself. That's not. Don't. Sometimes we hear a lot of but nothing in. People that talk too much or kind of these things that I do that, but it's empty sometimes, and it's not yourself. You're doing something else. And coming from theater, I like that link between being yourself, being an actor, and where you should be like that, where maybe you shouldn't, and to know yourself. And that's for me the most important.
I think also it's, how was it? Serve and protect. We are here to serve and protect.
To serve and protect.
Like the police.
Like a police officer.
Yeah. No, but I think the idea, I think this is how I was brought up in the world of yoga, and this is my, I think we try just to share this with other people, to help other people. Just to help other people,
Supplying tools.
People are coming from many reasons to yoga, many different reasons. And I think every reason is okay, you know, never mind why you got here. The practice will work for you if you want it. So sometimes when people like, I have a couple, I think like when I see old people come to practice, for me it's like, it's a great honor, really. Because we have a few that are 70 and over 70. We have two that are 70 and over 70. And between 50 to 60 also we have, over 60 also. And I'm 45. I'm not that child anymore. But when I see these people, I think it's great for
I'm 27.
I want to be 80 years old. No? Or maybe even more. I don't know if I'll get there, but
I'll help you.
I want for the end of my life to practice yoga, you know. It lives you up. It gives you energy. It gives you happiness. It gives you lightness in the body. It lights up your skin. It lights up your eyes, you know. You feel happy. And I think people are going, like with the age, we are going down. The heavy life is pulling us towards the ground, and you know, and yoga is saying, okay, it's a process, it's a life process, but we can feel good about it, you know, and maybe less depending on other people to tie our laces, huh? And seriously, or cut your nails, your toenails, because you have enough flexibility to reach there. You didn't lose it, or you gained it back. You have the strength to come out of your bed, you know, things that people are becoming dependent on. Pills, a lot of medicine.
So, who do you think, or would you say, has influenced you the most for you to become the teacher that you are today?
That's easy.
My mother. Yes, my mother. No doubt about it. I looked at her and I love her very much, and I tried to find a way around my life in a way that maybe she couldn't. And I think she was my biggest drive. I think so, yeah.
And how about for you, Marcelo?
My mother.
The mothers.
And my wife. And my children. There are lots. But yeah.
Okay, one last question.
Short one?
No, long one.
Long? Oh my God.
If each of you can share a very significant story throughout your journey of practicing yoga that has made an impact in your practice, the way you think, or even, you know, made an impact in your life, what would that be?
On ourselves, you mean?
Yeah.
From the practice.
There are many stories that, I don't know, it depends on which phase, you know.
Choose one.
But something that's most memorable, that has stood out.
Many. What are you thinking about?
I don't know.
I think, because every practice, every session is, you see something new or you discover. So even if it's something really small or insignificant, maybe, insignificant, yes. So anything could be, you know, a stepping stone or something that, oh, that's nice. You know, not that you discover something, oh, I can, or things like that. No?
Yeah,
That's what you meant.
I think as you stick to that, you get to a place where every day there's a little discovery, you know. In the beginning it's insights.
It's playful.
Big insights.
It's playful as well.
Or when you have a big decision to take, like it appears in your practice, and maybe it will fall down exactly when you lie down to relaxation because the mind is calmed down. So,
I have one.
yes.
when I am teaching kids yoga, so when we talk a lot also about what they think, what all kind of stories, and we relate into the different asanas. But I remember when I was trying to explain where is that point on a certain asana, a certain posture, that you have this balance. And it was like, when you start losing it, that's the balance. And the kids were kind of, oh, that's deep, kind of like that. This kind of, it doesn't sound good, no? Like, when you lose it, there you found it. So how it works. And actually they understood, because all the work with on, for example, two hands, that you have to lose a bit the way to shift your weight in order to find it. You have to lose it in a very delicate way, to lose it in order to find it. And it was like, oh, like they saw something really special and very important, and I liked the reaction. And it was like a very nice reaction for a lesson, for something it stood out. Was nice.
That's very ironic, this story, because it seems to me that when you talk about yoga to somebody who's never tried it, they feel, oh no, that's not for me.
Yes.
But then they reach that point in their life where they lose their balance, and then yoga could be something that
probably
they can go back to.
Yeah. It's a shame in a way that we choose yoga when we feel bad, when something is wrong. But this is, you know, lucky enough, it's there. You know, it's there, and we can use it.
It's a good alternative. Let's say it's a quite good alternative for all kind of things that can.
Yeah, handling, for example, anger.
For kids.
For kids, for grown-ups, for me. I came from a lot of anger. You can ask him, he knows. I came from a lot of anger, so much anger. I was so angry. And that's why I know that, and the practice, as you keep practicing, and maybe also the years, you know, life goes by, and you do your practice, and you raise your kids, and you reach a certain point where you become softer maybe, or harder, it depends. But if you carry on practicing, you become softer. Because you understand that you can't really ask your body so much, demand so much. Because we come and we you know, Gaya, you know very well. Yes, we come.
We just want to control everything.
Now I want it now. And my vein comes out, and maybe even here. So you actually learn that. I remember myself standing. If you wanna hear an experience, it was here in Sitges when I think I was practicing for about like every day for about like 7 years or something, maybe less. And I remember myself standing on the mat and doing some salutations, like in the army, very, very, you know, and I got steamed up, and I stood on the mat, and it was before I started the second salutation. I said, what are you doing, you know? Come on, you're heated up, just calm down and breathe on top of it. And suddenly it was like all this flowing. When you lose the tension, you know, you just hold the bandhas and you breathe, and the body is active, but you are not, like you say, control, or you try to hold the bandha here, you squeeze here instead of, and suddenly it's like this easy movement on the breath. And I think this was a turning point in my practice, and that's why I'm saying that, because it takes years. And I see now, after I've been in like 8.5 years that I'm teaching in Sitges, and Marcelo started a few years after that I started in Sitges. And now we can see, for example, people are coming back to the practice. They left maybe 5 years ago, they've been for a couple of years before that, and now they come back. And or people who started 5 years ago and kept on practicing, and they just come to this point of releasing this after so long, and not maybe a daily practice. It's not a daily practice, so it takes a bit longer, you see. But it's really, it was a turning point in my practice, a real turning point.
So you're saying that your practice has made it easier for you, or taught you how to let go?
How to let go and how to recycle. Now you know when you get sometimes you get to make really difficult decisions that you don't like, you don't want to make. You know. Also we've been through that. And it's somehow I don't go to places where I used to go before. I used to get really upset and really, oh, what am I gonna do? And it started to be a whole nightmare, basically. And I think yoga gives you this connection to life on a one-one relation. There's no like two and then one. No, it's like the application it's life. I mean, yoga is life. It's about life. So when you get bored, come on, you can do that on a video on your webpage.
I was thinking about that when I...
You're horrible! Please, you see what I have to deal with. This is such an example.
Namaste, perdón.
Time for coffee.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank
Well,
you.
anyway, so
More?
this is it. Now he doesn't want me to speak anymore. I can, because he knows I can speak for days.
Yes.
That's true.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Gaya.
That was great, and all the questions were very informative. That I hope it will help a lot of people out there to realize how yoga can help them, and that you're
if
here.
Not sure, yoga should be
Ask
practiced,
me.
so they should come and try, even
You're
if
most
wherever
welcome.
they are. It doesn't mean they have necessarily to come here. Just go and try to find a place with nice people, a nice atmosphere that you will come, you will feel at home. This is the most important thing, so you can grow. And
You'll meet me just in the entrance.
flourish. What?
Namaste.
The chief.
The chief.
Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaya.